Unbroken, the podcast with Madeleine Black. Healing through storytelling.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Unbroken, the podcast with me, Madeleine Black, where I am speaking to fantastic people that I have met along my own journey, and today is no exception. I am speaking to the legend that is Colin Jackson. So he is one of Great Britain's legendary hurdler, a multiple gold medalist and world record holder, and a broadcaster. He's an Olympic silver medalist, a gold medalist in the World Champions. He set 7 European, 8 Commonwealth, 9 UK records with 110 hurdles. He's a former world record holder in Stuttgart, and he is the current world indoor record holder for 7.30 seconds in Sindelfingen, I don't know how you pronounce that, 1994. Following his retirement, he's now part of the BBC Sports production, and he continues to cover athletics from all over. Olympics, major athletic events, Olympic Games, London, Rio, Athens. He has co-hosted the BBC One live morning show Sunday Live for its duration during 2008, and has also filmed The Truth About You for BBC One. He has traced his roots in a moving episode of BBC One's highly acclaimed Who Do You Think You Are, and dazzled us all with his dancing skills on Strictly Come Dancing, and was thrilled to make it by the public vote into the final. More recently, he has honed his ice skating skills for ITV's Dancing on Ice Goes Gold, and has appeared in the BBC's 24 Hours in the Past. He works closely with Sport Relief, where he is a member of the steering panel, and is also an inspiration ambassador for UNICEF, as well as founding and fronting the Go Dad Run campaign for prostate cancer. 2014 also saw him take over the role of race director for Red Bull Wings for Life events worldwide. And more recently, he was seen in Panorama, where he investigated eating disorders amongst elite athletes. Welcome, Colin Jackson. How lovely to have you on my show.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm tired, I'm exhausted listening to all the stuff that I've done. I can't believe I've done it.
and I cut quite a lot out of your bio because I don't want to be reading your bio. Yeah, you have amazing, glittering life that you have had.
But I think that's really fortunate. I mean, it's been very interesting journey finding about myself, about my past, about history, looking really into science programs and understanding how I achieved some of the things that I achieved. And yeah, it's been quite diverse, and I've thoroughly enjoyed every element of it, working alongside many charities as well, and understanding how people suffer through their lives in different ways. Well, a Wednesday for me is very different to a Wednesday for somebody else, and so when I see how it goes, and I'm lucky enough to feel the experience and hear many stories from different people. Yeah, I appreciate life, put it that way. Good. Very much.
So the first question that I always ask everyone who comes onto the show, because we are called Unbroken, the podcast, is what does that word unbroken mean to you?
Well, unbroken means to me, it's some elements of you or of anything that doesn't need fixing. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely consistent and solid right the way through. But human beings are human beings, and I know for a fact that unbroken can never be an adjective I use to describe any element of my life.
What I love about you in my research, I don't know if you know, I have a fascination for the number 44, and you have an unbroken record of 44 races that you won.
Which is pretty phenomenal. I mean,
more than pretty phenomenal. It's mind-blowing.
Well, when it's you, this is always the case. I always remind people this. When it's you, the person that's achieving stuff, you really don't take it, not seriously, but you just take it along on the trip, on the journey. When you finish and you sit back and you reflect, and I thought to myself, 44 races when I had 10 obstacles to clear all the time, it's quite an incredible feat. And I appreciate it more now, looking back, than I really appreciated it whilst it was going ahead.
Because you were focused then, you were in it. And it's like when you're out of it, it's easier to see it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes through everything that I kind of do. That's really the thread, is that when I'm in something, I really dive myself 100% in it. I really don't just go around the fringes. Because I always think, and I know this when I was really young. I think my grandparents were pretty wise, and I remember my grandfather saying, like, "You only got 24 hours in a day anyway, so why do rubbish in that 24 hours when you could do quality with 24 hours?" And I was thinking, well, yeah, that makes so much sense. Just use the time you've got to the best of your ability. And if you keep achieving the best of your ability, you can sleep well at night.
And that's, you've always been so driven, you've always been so motivated. In some ways, you would always stay a bit obsessed about your career.
Yeah, no, and you know me well enough to say, I always speak quite frankly about that, is you've got to really find that balance of what is good quality commitment and what is obsession.
Yes.
So once you find the balance there, I think you have a really good equilibrium. I think when I was a professional sportsman, I didn't have that right balance. I was too obsessed with every single element of it, and it truly stopped me enjoying my career. And that sounds maybe odd to say, but yeah, I think I could have still achieved as much as I achieved and had a much better time along the way.
And that really leads us quite nicely, thank you for doing that, into the program that you investigated and presented just a few weeks ago in the UK, Panorama, for those that are listening out of the UK, when you investigated eating disorders, the kind of secret that goes on in the world of athletics amongst elite athletes. And you talked a little bit about your own story of your struggles with anorexia, which then turned into bulimia.
Which is really awful to say that, because, I wish I knew what I know now and I could advise the younger self. I mean, lots of people say exactly the same thing, but I truly believe that. What happened to me was that real sense of first of all, it was false information that I was receiving. So what had happened, I started to lose a little bit of weight and my performance started to improve. The key for that is I never wanted to take drugs in the world of sport, but I felt I was getting an advantage by getting a little bit slimmer.
And where did that thought process come from? Did somebody suggest it to you, or you just came?
No, weight power ratio. That's what it was. That's a scientific equation that is accurate. Weight power, you lose your weight and you have the same amount of physicality ability, then you're going to push out that performance a little bit stronger. And that's what happened. And you touched on one of the reasons why I kind of got a little bit extreme, because I was obsessive about my performance. And I first of all realized that, okay, if I lose this much weight, I will do this type of, I'll get this percentage of improvement. And then that kind of steered on to go a little bit further, where you go, well, then if I try this, will it go a little bit better? And that's exactly what happened. It kind of just crept up on me to the extent where I'd stopped eating properly. I mean, I was surviving on 750 calories, 800 calories a day. And I was a professional athlete who was burning most probably nearly 4,000 calories a day.
What is that, like a fifth of what you need, a quarter of what you need?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you didn't see in the Panorama show is when I went to a dietitian and they put out to me the amount of food that I needed to eat to sustain a healthy training weight, training abilities, energies, for what I was doing when I gave her my training schedule. And I was literally, when I pointed out to her how much I was eating of all what she put out on the table, she herself couldn't believe it, that I had achieved so much with so little. But then it gets destructive because your body doesn't like it, obviously. And I started to get illnesses that were kind of related to that, the fatigue syndromes that you go in picking up viruses quite easily and quite quickly. And one of the things I didn't realize was something that was linked to eating disorders was a lack of sleep.
Yes.
Now, I didn't sleep at all well. I mean, my training group, and this may sound bizarre, I remember my training group was going to bed at 10:30 in the evening. And then when they all went to bed, I was cleaning the house because I was awake. So I clean all the house and I sit down at about midnight to watch some TV. And then they would all come out into the living room at about 3 in the morning. I haven't gone to bed. And then I go to bed at 5 o'clock and be up at 8 o'clock and then continue with the training.
So it's not just a lack of energy, there's no food in you, and there's no sleep, which is when we restore ourselves and our bodies.
Exactly.
You're literally running on empty.
I was running completely down and empty. And I'll be honest, Madeleine would go, yes, I'm not so sure about this, Colin, but I was always grumpy. I was always grumpy. And that, of course, again, exactly. It was then directly linked to my intake of food, which was obviously not enough. And then when you were treating yourself, when we go out for dinners with the group, etc., the first stop for me after I'd finished eating was straight to the bathroom to throw up, because I was so obsessed about not putting a single morsel of food in my mouth or it staying in my body. And that went on literally till I retired.
And I know you said that you didn't speak about it. Were you aware yourself what you were doing?
Yes, I was aware. I was very aware. And I knew that it was one of the reasons why I was getting ill. But at that stage, I had no confidence in what else I could do. So because I wasn't speaking to anybody, and adding to that is that when you're being successful as well, it's really difficult for people to talk to. So who's going to come up to me and say to me, you need to eat a little bit more when I've just won 3 gold medals at the championships and broke a world record? It's a really tough line to tread. And that's the reason why, for me, doing a program like that may have opened the eyes for so many youngsters to understand that, you know what, you don't have to go down that road. There are lots of people who will listen to you. And if you do correct nutrition, it will make a difference.
Yeah, because it was shocking to see the photographs of Rebecca, how far her eating disorder went. She looked
emaciated.
Like a Holocaust survivor. She just looked like she'd had severe cancer, chemo. It was hard to see those photos. And I could see when you were speaking to her, it was touching you as well.
It took my breath away, because I was thinking, how did they not see this? How could, because when the pictures that we were seeing during the program, you can imagine she's already in hospital. But even if she was a stone heavier than that, she'd have looked really bad.
Still be emaciated, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't quite understand how people within Loughborough at that time, where the university she's at, weren't doing more to assist her.
What do you think stopped you from speaking out about it? What kept you quiet?
Shame and embarrassment, because I really knew I was doing something wrong. And it was that shame and embarrassment. And if people ever did mention it to me, I would get quite aggressive. I remember one time one of the people in my training partners said to me after I went into the bathroom when I came out, because they were all in the living room, I came out, and she said, "Have you just thrown up?" And I literally tore her head off. And and that was solely because I was caught out, right? And I didn't want to face that story.
Yeah, it was your defense mechanism come up like, oh my God, I've been caught, so let's try this.
Yes.
Shame is hard, isn't it? It's really a disabling emotion. It really is.
Massively.
What do you think
now
said if they had found out? What were you worried about they would think?
I'd have felt that it would have been a sign of weakness of mine. And as a top sportsman, you have got to have that sense of being invincible. So there's no chink in your armor. But unfortunately, there was a huge chink in my armor that was causing my ultimate performance not to happen. And so even though I know it sounds odd, you're breaking world records, you're setting the best standard of the world in a particular event, but it doesn't mean what I was doing was right to get there. And now I was destroying myself. Would I have been better? Well, who knows? That
was one of my questions for you.
Yeah.
What kind, do you think you would have broken even different records if you had been eating a nutritious diet?
For sure, I'd have been better. Absolutely, there's no two ways about it.
Your sporting ability as well.
Yeah, but the most important thing for me, I believe, is that I'd have been happier.
Yeah.
And that happiness when you're young is far more important than anything else. You commit to something, you might as well have a great time. Not just have a good time, have a great time. The world was my oyster. You know, I was staying in the best places in the world. People were treating me like a, you know, like a king. And deep down, I would smile. This bit here was always beautifully smiling and
The
saying happy,
mask.
but
Oh,
inside
the
was
mask. Yeah.
destroyed inside. And that's a real tough challenge to try and deal with when you're young.
So despite winning all these gold, silver medals inside, it didn't satisfy that need?
No, because that's what I should do.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, you're a gold medal athlete. You're a world record breaking athlete. So a silver, a bronze, a fourth place, or just making a final is not good enough. So when you win the gold medal that you're supposed to win because you are the best, it's one of these things like there's no celebration. It's like, okay, give me the medal. Thank you very much. Where are we going next? So it's you have this really nonchalant attitude of things because you're only achieving what you expect of yourself and what everybody else is expecting of you.
So gold or nothing, high expectations.
Yeah, but
And
it
pressure.
was, and I don't want to say it was the right one, but it was the realistic one. So, you know, when you set yourself goals have always, as you know, I always say goals have got to be right and realistic for the moment. You know, when I was 19, I didn't have those kind of same aspirations necessary for that particular year to be the best in the world. But I knew I set aspirations when I'm 25, 26 to be the best in the world. And that is where you always strike your goal setting targets.
Yeah. So you say this disordered eating, this eating disorder was really whilst you were training. And as soon as you retired, were you able then to approach food in a healthier way?
You always carry it. Even today, you always carry it. You know, I'm, how old am I now? 53. See, it even affects your mind.
I know. I know.
53 now. And yeah, even now, sometimes I go, and then you go, what are you doing? What are you doing? You've got to really sometimes shake yourself up. You know, I mean, preparing for shows like I'm just about to embark with now on Dancing with Ice, my default would be, okay, if I got to lose a stone, there's only one way I can do it. I just don't eat. That's not the way to do it, you know? So what I ended up doing now is engaging a proper nutritionist, someone who can build the food into your program and do it properly. Nowadays, there are so many great professionals that can guide you, you know, good brain food, good physical food, submit your training so they know roughly what you're doing, show them what you're doing in your life. You may only need to do that for 2 weeks. They're that good. They can construct things for you for that particular period of time. So now I invest in proper nutrition and it does make a difference. I smile a lot more.
Yeah. What's good to hear is you're recognizing you could easily fall back into those habits, but you pay attention to that signal and you think, no, I'm going to do it properly. And you're honest with the dietitians, the experts. Because I imagine you have a lot of calories dancing on ice all day.
Yeah, and it's cold, so you spend a lot of time shivering as well. So, but I'll be honest, you have to be honest, because if you know, we always say this, don't we? If you give someone half of the information, that's more dangerous than giving them no information at all. And so you really, really have to be completely honest, and to have that honesty in yourself means that you feel good about yourself as well, because there's no, you know, no curveball can come left, right, or center. And also, if you check the honesty, as I mentioned to my dietitian, I said to him, you know, if it doesn't work, I will expose you, right? And there's no way, because you know I will stick to it. Right, I'll dot all the I's, cross all the T's. And if it doesn't work, I'm exposing you as a fraud. And he was like, go for it.
And
go
when
for
you
it.
had these thoughts, you know, regarding this new project, was it because you felt if I was a bit thinner, I would look better or I would perform better on ice? Is it always a performance with you when it's, you know, eating?
This was looking better, because you look at the clothes and you think to yourself, oh, okay, right. I need to be nice and slick to looking in and fitting that beautifully well. And you have this real image of yourself and what you can be and what you can be like. So
and
yeah,
people would look at you and think, what does he have to worry about? He's gorgeous, whether you're male or female. You know, I have to say that you are, and I've seen you on the beach. I know you are gorgeous in real life. So people will find that hard to understand that you, this athletic body, would real struggle with your body image.
Always have. You know, I was one of these people. I couldn't even, I'm in an apartment here now, and I would feel, and this is the truth, I'd feel really uncomfortable just even walking around here with nobody in this apartment with my top off.
Mhm.
I'm that conscious of how I look. And so it's really difficult for me to, it's an effort for me to expose my body. And I know people go, it's weird. And, I think one of the things on social media I kind of learned, I decided to think, okay, I need to just help myself by exposing my body to the world in that sense, because it will make, it's a liberating experience for me, because it does free me to be more confident about my body.
And where do you think that comes from? Is that comparitis? Is that you comparing yourselves to all these amazing legends that you must have worked with, all these fantastic elite athletes as well?
Yeah, and that you're absolutely right. I look at some of the guys and think to myself, I don't look like them. And how do I look like them? And that was the reason why. And so you become very, see, this is odd when I say this, but I was a little bit unlucky that I was good really early in my career. So I still had I had like a boyish body still. So I didn't have an athletic body. So I had all these puppy fat all over the place. And yeah, I had a lad's body. And when you're going on the international circuit and you're seeing these professional athletes who are 6, 7 years older than me, who look like blokes, chiseled, everything, you're thinking, okay, there's something I need to do with myself. But you get conscious as well about how you look. And the last thing I would have ever thought about taking off my shirt, because people talk. You know what our sport's like. You know what the general public is like. People talk about how you look, and it's an odd thing to say, but we are very sizist in the world of sport. And if you haven't got a six pack, you get chastised for it, nearly
We all have
bullied.
a six pack, it's just under there somewhere.
We all certainly do, and we all choose to either expose it or to keep it lovely and covered.
But what I'm hearing is a little bit about struggling to accept you and who you are with the body that you have, and recognizing that actually you really are okay with the body that you have.
And interesting, adding to that is I was still performing.
Yeah.
I was still the best in the world for my age group. I was still doing everything, but that wasn't enough, because to me, I had to look the part as well as be the part. And so
Yeah.
you're always battling, these two sides of you. And ultimately, what ended up happening to me was I ended up looking the part, but the performances dipped because I wasn't fueled.
Mhm.
So, it didn't end up right, did it?
It just seems these really, really high expectations of playing the part, looking the part. Will you ever be enough? Will you ever be good enough? Will you ever be satisfied? Or do you always drive yourself?
Oh God, do you know what? That is a really good question. Because I look at it myself and I think I am really, life is good. Life is sweet. I do what I need to do. I live the way I live, and I'm generally quite cool and calm with my life in that sense. But I think if you put a challenge out to me that I want to take on, then nothing is good enough apart from perfection. So I'm always caught in the middle, I think. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's a good, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But when I put my mind to something, I go all in or I stay away.
Yeah, that's hard standards to live to, really, isn't it? To be perfect all the time.
It's difficult. It's difficult because you're never satisfied with what you're doing. And then again, I'm trying to learn to ice skate properly for this show, and everything that my dance partner says to me, my skating partner says to me, is great. I always see a fault in it,
Mm-hmm.
and I never really tap myself on the shoulder and go, "This time last week, you could barely lace up your boots. Never mind, get on the ice and do full
What
on
would it
crossover."
take to
Never.
actually recognize that and say, actually, look, Colin, you've done a good job, rather than focusing what you haven't done, what you can't do?
It's in me. There's nothing. There's nothing. I think that's very much part of me. And it's one of those things I have to accept about my personality. And that's, again, it's something that I feel it is unbroken because it can't be fixed. and I don't care what anybody says. They could give it a good try, and I would listen, and I'd happily listen to what people are saying and what advice. You know, I'm always willing to take advice from people, but that is just innately me. And so what I have to do is manage it more than anything else. So I have to manage expectations more.
It's kind of a paradox because yes, that drive and that obsession gets you to where you want, but you know, what price do you pay when you get to where you want? It's about that balance, as you say.
Yes, controlling that balance and understand it. But as long as you understand, you have a fighting chance. And as long as you're willing to admit to it, you have a fighting chance.
Yeah.
Because I have a go with my dance partner, my ice skating partner. I always say to her, you know, I'm never going to be happy with this, that, and the other. And she goes, yeah, I know. So it's fine. So because she knows whatever she says.
With it now, and you're light with it, you recognize it. So you don't deny it. So that's good.
No, don't deny it. Don't deny it. And you know, I don't criticize myself for a compliment. So I don't go to her, oh, that was rubbish. For her to go, oh no, it was lovely. Really, no, I don't. I just feel it wasn't good enough. So even if she got in there first with a compliment and said, that's great, I'd still go, well, did you not see my toe in the boot? You know, it was just slightly up or whatever. It was just never perfect.
So what kind of reaction have you had since the Panorama program when you've been exposing eating disorders?
It has been phenomenal. I mean, I've had, you can imagine on my social media, so many messages from people saying, thank you very much for outing this. Thank you very much for giving my teenage son, giving me, you know, parents were saying now it gave them the courage to speak to their kids about their circumstance and situation.
Isn't that amazing, that ripple effect?
Unbelievable. And you know what? You know me, Madeleine, I'm just myself. You know, I'm just me. I'm always just me. And so for me, it's just been brilliant that it has had such a strong and positive impact on people. And even my sister has had messages from people who are saying to her, what your brother has done has just been phenomenal. It's really helped us to really chat. And also what was lovely, I had one of the therapists I used to work alongside with me in British Athletics at the time, apologising to me, saying that she's so sorry that she didn't recognise it. Oh. And I was like, and I said to her, don't worry, that's
you did it very well.
Don't worry. She said,
imagine if she tried to speak to you about it, you would have shut her down anyway.
Massively. So, you know, how was she going to talk to one of the most iconic figures in the sport at that particular time? It was never going to be the case, you know. And I think you've got to be in a position of authority like what she was at that particular time, to really pull one of the top athletes aside and say, we need to have a word, is brave.
Very brave.
It is really brave, because you've got to think that maybe she would think it's not her place to. Yeah. But, you know, just as a social worker, you know, it was definitely her place to. Definitely.
Especially as you were on a mission to ignore and to shut it down and to be defensive and put that wall up and say you're talking rubbish. So I don't know what, you know, you would just be on the retaliation, you'd just be on the attack. So
straight away, that would have been
armed with that knowledge, that's even braver to approach you.
Absolutely. But now I think what the program has certainly done is given people like her now the real strength to go on forward and approach anybody that she sees in that particular way. And because now there's a reference point. You know, I think the program, that Panorama documentary is giving people a real reference point. So if they say to them, look, I think that you need to check something out, and they go, wow, just check the program. Have a listen to this, and it'll explain the reason why, and then come back and have a word with me. And that may be, you know, because we didn't have a reference point. If there was a program like this, maybe my life would have been very different.
Yeah, you might have spoken up. And what do you think about the image that we give for men? Because I noticed from a woman's point of view, especially during lockdown, all the adverts that have come up on my feed, reduce your tummy fat, get fitter, do this. And for guys, get that six pack, get ripped, get this. So it's constant messages about your image and what you look like and how to change your body. And, you know, if your body's not good, then you're not good enough. And it's image all the time.
And this is for people with life experience and sense. So I'm talking about our age group, and we understand a lot along the way. can you imagine getting this information bombarded at you when you're 16, 17, 18, 19, and you're still very impressionable? It's not very positive. It's not positive in my opinion. I think what we should be doing is creating an image of having a healthier lifestyle. Now, you know me, I go out for nice, long, leisurely walks. I will do that, enjoy. It's incredible. So let's look at your lifestyle more than look really focused on how you physically look. And if you do better in your general lifestyle, cook well, enjoy socializing, go out for outdoor walk, enjoy the experience of nature, you will be fitter anyway. And you will have the body that you want regardless, just because you can.
Yeah, I think people are surprised that you came out with your story, because most people assume eating disorders is a feminine thing, is a female issue, and it doesn't affect men. But you told me that you've had loads of mums of teenage boys or young men themselves contacting you, talking about their own struggles.
Yeah, and I found that really, really interesting. And, because lots of time when you do have an eating disorder, you feel like it's only you that's going through this real process, and nobody else will understand why you're doing this and how you're doing this. So for me, I think I've opened the floodgates really for certainly young men to come out and express themselves and say, okay, where do I go for help? I think that's the key thing. Now we said, no, recognize it in yourself and go and seek help. And I think we've definitely achieved that with this particular broadcast.
You really did. So just kind of to wrap up, are there any tips you would give to anyone who's listening right now? What helped? Well, what helped you is really retirement, I guess, but you did there are stuff that helped you.
Yeah, lots of things really. I think, always associate yourself with people that are like-minded as you in a positive way. Take a lot of positivity around from everybody around you. Don't feel like if you're not giving back, you're being selfish, because it's not necessarily true. You can take from people, and the goodness you're receiving from people, you actually do project elsewhere, because you have that sense of radiance. Smile every day and have great manners. It can change the whole mood and atmosphere of a day. If you see somebody for the first time and put on a beaming smile and just say some good morning, or just hold the door open and nod, it makes a huge difference with people, how you feel.
And I think it also makes a difference to you if you put that smile on your face. That's the start of your day.
Absolutely. What a better way it is to start the day with a massive, huge smile, instead of getting up all panicky and flapping and everything else. We're on this planet for a very, very limited time. And when you think how limited this time is, you should make it as good and as enjoyable as possible.
Absolutely. Well, that is just a beautiful place to end our interview here today. So I am just so grateful and thankful to you, lovely Colin. Thank you for taking this time out of your busy schedule. And we will be rooting for you in January when it comes on the telly box, Dancing on Ice. We can't wait to watch it. So thanks again.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank
Unbroken,
you.
the podcast, with Madeleine Black, playing now on all the main platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher for Android, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and here. Play Unbroken, the podcast, with Madeleine Black.